Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. It's exciting to know that today is the last day, right? And, also a little sad thing because then now I won't see you anymore. So, it's a mixed feeling. Uh, but I'm sure, there's a lot we have accomplished this week. And today's lecture is more about a comprehensive review and then a primer for continuing advanced work. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that. So, like, I've combined the two lectures into one. So, lecture 15 is a comprehensive review, and 16 is a primer for continuing advanced work in AI and ML. Pause, pause. बहुत अच्छे. Thank you. Are you pausing? Okay. Uh, okay, let's begin, folks. Uh, Here's an outline of the talk. So, as always, we'll begin our session with a 1 minute silent meditation. Then we'll do an outline and summary of each lecture, so a comprehensive review kind of thing. We'll then wrap up the course with what can be done going forward. And then, because this is one lecture, like I said, 15 and 16, we'll end with a motivational quote. Okay? So, power of silence. Let me get my phone out. Okay. Okay, let's begin, everyone. Let's prepare ourselves. Body, mind, spirit. 1 minute silence. Okay. Okay, I love this quote by Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar. If you're not familiar, he is the Art of Living Foundation, founder. I want nothing, I do nothing, I am nothing. Great way to start a meditation. Okay, so let's go into the content now. Okay, so summary of lecture 1, evolution of algorithms from computer programming to machine learning. That's what we did at the beginning. Computer programming, of course, explicit instructions. We talked about, you answered flowchart, pseudocode. Okay, and then we talked about machine learning, where there is no set instructions given, right? The program, the algorithm learns on its own. Sets of rules that enable computers to learn data, learn from data, data-driven models, make predictions or decisions, and improve their performance, self-learning. Okay, just like we learn, self-learning of the computers. Use of machine learning algorithms help explore, analyze, and find meaning in large complex data sets. The reason ML came about is because of the data size was increasing, and we needed better ways than just humans to actually figure things out. Just like the way the calculator was developed when we had to add so many numbers. So, outline of lecture 2, we talked about the science of machine learning algorithms, the types of machine learning algorithms, overview of AI and ML algorithms, and then applications in everyday life, and then there were wrap up and takeaways. So, AI algorithm design and applications, basically a summary of that lecture. AI is here to stay. So let's embrace any new technologies that come our way. So today it is AI, tomorrow it could be something else. Whatever it is, we cannot say, oh, that is a bad, that is going to have detrimental effect on my work life, on my so I'm going to stay away from it. No, we need to understand it. We need to see how we can use it in our job, okay? Because companies are definitely continuously going to embrace newer and newer technologies. So algorithms are preferred over human decision making. Why? Because they are perceived to be objective as they are data driven, little to no human interference, save time and money. Anything that saves time and money is always a preferred option, right? However, AI systems are not without flaws. We talked about the susceptibility to skewed data or embedded societal norms and belief systems. My overarching goal for any time I do research in AI or ML is to influence the design and deployment of socio-technical systems, because no technical system is just technical. It will always have societal impacts. And that's why I call it a socio-technical system that broaden participation in the economy and lead to best outcome for all subgroups of people, not just select group of people. Okay, so whenever you think of doing something, make sure it is benefiting everybody, because it might benefit one and not benefit the other. Okay, more or less is okay, because that's what many technology, oh, it may benefit some people more, some people less, that is okay, but it shouldn't be detrimental to one people and benefiting others. As a consultant, I validate AI systems for predictions and automated decisions and ensure alignment with organizational goals. So, validating the AI system if it's doing what it's supposed to do and if the outcomes make sense, create toolkits, scales, and assessment measures for the purpose of auditing AI applications. Okay, so we had that quiz on which you got amazing. You all of you were right, got the right answer. What are the two main enablers of machine learning algorithms? Let's revisit that. Anybody? Loudly. Hardware. Somebody said hardware.
Hardware and big data.
Yeah, that's right. It's basically hardware could go with computer processing power and storage and big data. That's right. Okay, what are the scientific and mathematical underpinnings of machine learning algorithms? Okay, you are all shouting out answers, which is perfect: function approximation and probabilistic reasoning. And of course, why should we care about flaws in algorithm design and applications? We experience AI every day, and it is up to us to make AI fair and just. Okay, so this was the outline for lecture 5, step-by-step guide to step-by-step guide to research using ML algorithms, frequently used machine learning algorithms with application. We talked about the different algorithms like clustering, nearest neighbor, and then of course decision tree, neural networks, so on and so forth. And we did a little bit. Any questions on any of this, or I just took the applications for each and I brought a couple of slides for that. So applications of clustering algorithms, segmentation in marketing, healthcare, finance, real estate, any of these. Okay, anytime we want segmentation, we use the clustering, grouping people of or items based on specific criteria. purchasing behavior, demographics for product recommendations, similar items for online shopping, anytime we are grouping something, okay? So symptoms or health data for medical diagnosis and treatments, categorizing customers based on risk levels for loan approvals, assess property values based on features like location, size, amenities, okay? Identify groups within social networks for a variety of purposes. That's also something that is segmentation. Anomaly detection in finance or network security. Identify unusual or outlier data points, fraud detection, or cybersecurity. So decision tree is used in requires labeled data for, of course, because it's a supervised learning algorithm, right? Advantages used for both classification and regression. Predictors are picked as they decrease the order in the data. Simplicity and interpretability, visual and structured representation of data-driven decisions, intuitive and easy to explain because you are now showing everything in a pictorial format. Remember, I mentioned to you, anytime you show something to your supervisor as a picture, it always has more impact. Versatility, effective with both numerical and categorical or textual data. Use cases, we talked about the business strategy, project management, risk assessment, so on and so forth. So applications would be regression or forecasting in education, like predicting student performance based on previous performance, used for college admissions, identifying at-risk students and providing necessary resources. Classification in IT or healthcare. Classifying emails as spam, that would be an IT application. In healthcare, it could be used for classifying by test results for health conditions. Classifying by symptoms, medical diagnosis, applications of neural networks, used in natural language processing, CNNs, convolutional, used for visual data, pattern recognition within images and videos, machine translation, RNNs, which is a recurring used for text and speech, chatbots. This is a generative AI used for data augmentation, generate images based on textual descriptions. So AI generated art, generate musical compositions, faces, any reflections on that. Finally, specific examples for ANN. Pattern recognition, like handwriting recognition, shortest route. Traveling salesman is a very, very common problem that has been around for decades. It's finding the shortest route. It is a very, very common problem. It's used for transportation and logistics as well. And that's a major sector because that sector is very much within the country always. It cannot be outsourced. Okay. Information compression, image compression, prediction, stock exchange. So ML algorithms, overview of applications. Analytics is the use of data, statistical analysis, and explanatory or predictive models to gain insight into complex issues in business and government. And that's what data analytics is. Data analytics is basically analyzing data, right? Through all the modern means of analyzing data. And it's typically done basically for either business, government, and so on and so forth. Different applications of machine learning, healthcare, teaching and learning, business and industry, government. At the end of this lecture, I want each one of you to say, like, a really maybe under 30 seconds, what was your biggest takeaway from this course? Okay, so start thinking about that. And each one of you will say 30 seconds. So it's not going to take very much, okay? But I would like to hear what was your biggest takeaway from this course, okay? Under 30 seconds, everybody, okay? So like it can be like few words. Outline of lecture 6, AI and ML, where I talked about the different research studies that the teams are doing in the US, Brazil, China, and of course, India. And then outline of lecture 9, we talked about the scientific metrics, correct? Okay, where we talked about the confusion matrix and all of these, and that's part of the log loss, confusion matrix, accuracy, precision, and recall, which are just kind of opposite of each other, F score, AUC, or area under the curve. AI system performance metrics, these are the formulas for it. No reason to memorize anything ever, okay? Because really, I mean, nobody should memorize anything. That's already out available on all the data. So what is needed is how do I take this information and apply it for something new or take it forward? That should be the goal of any. Many of my exams in the US, I just give them open book, open notes, but they are timed. So it's not like you have 10 hours to take the exam. Hyperparameters, machine learning model settings are adjustable settings. Fine-tuning these improves performance. Examples include like the learning rate, controls the step size. These are, remember, the hyperparameters. When you design the model, like you are putting in all the parameters for the model, then you have to put in what those steps are, how many, that's the learning rate. Controls the step size during the optimization process. And the small learning rate results in longer training time and slower convergence to optimization. Larger learning rate can cause optimization process to overshoot the optimal solution. So we have to find a good number somewhere that, somewhere that averages the two. Excuse me. Batch size, number of training examples used in one iteration of training a model. Small batch sizes require more training time but result in stable convergence and better generalization. Larger batch size can accelerate training but require more money. So remember, the batch size is also important. And again, we'll try to find a good number that would, work for the particular, and then you can always change it. If you think, oh, this is taking too long, you can change it, of course. Number of hidden layers, same thing, depends on the size of the data, of course. Critical design choice that significantly impacts performance. Complex patterns require more layers but may also require more data and computational power. So remember, more layers, more data, more computational power. So if your data set is not very big, then you might want to stay with a lower number of hidden layers. Simpler tasks require fewer layers. Regularization strength prevents overfitting, and increasing it may improve precision while decreasing it may improve recall. So again, precision and recall, we are trying to balance the two. Okay, the lecture 10 was more about the societal impact. And we talked about fairness, lack of fairness, impact. Skewed data set can result in unequal outcomes for different groups. And we talked about underdiagnosis or misdiagnosis of certain patient groups which were underrepresented in the data set. So, it was hard to know, basically, if certain females are underrepresented in the data set of certain age group, then it's going to be a problem. Amazon's hiring algorithm, we talked about how it favored men over women only because that's what was the data from before. Facial recognition software display a higher false positive. This was from a NIST here study, right? Lack of, and in that it also talked about how facial recognition developed in Asian countries did fine for Asian faces, right? So it really, it just goes to show that your outcomes are going to depend on the data that you have. Lack of transparency is poor generalizability across populations. We talked about the compass, which has, it is efficient, but it does have problems. Okay, I'm not saying people use it. It is still being used in courts only because it's such an efficient system. Okay, but it does have its own share of problems. Features extracted from college admissions essay used to predict student achievement. Limitations of speech recognition in job performance algorithms, because it could be accent, it could be the tone, it could be all different things. Lack of explainability impact automated predictive algorithms with disparate outcomes. Automated dropout predictions are based on an algorithm that detects a correlation between student demographics and college GPA using a data set that reflects historic patterns of prejudice and you might remember we talked about an example of a school in UK, right, which had the where the test was given and the good students from lower ranked schools were ranked lower than not so good students from high ranked schools. So that itself, so the algorithm had its own issues. That is the bias, and that can be human bias too. Oh, this essay, oh, from this top school, okay, let me it has to be good because the student is studying there. Predictive policing and risk assessments used in criminal sentencing are based on police inputs whose objectivity has been questioned. I mean, it's not like, oh, police means they are just perfect, yeah, they are humans too. Credit scores correlate credit worthiness with the type of credit disproportionately used by borrowers of color. Lack of accountability, proxy discrimination. So just because you can't use these particular variables doesn't mean the impact of those variables is gone, because you can use proxy variables that will relate whatever you're looking for with them. So we talked about the neighborhoods being told by the zip code or the pin code, then you can tell what neighborhood that person is in. Okay. Okay, so outline of lecture 13 and overview of AI outcomes, continuous assessment. We talked about the concept of continuous assessment, how to apply continuous assessment of AI outcomes, and we use the use cases for various sectors. The whole thing about continuous assessment is that it is a concept that can be applied across multiple fields. Remember that. Continuous assessment is a concept that you can apply in, for example, in job performance, in your cyber security, in your network performance. It's a continuous assessment or continuous evaluation. So continuous assessment process requires comprehensive evaluation framework, mainly very clear and narrowly defined objectives. Because if you have like vague objectives, then it's hard to assess something. Okay, so it's important to have narrowly defined, clear objectives, and key performance indicators have to be relevant, measurable, and achievable. So KPIs are common for any field. Any performance is always what are the performance indicators is what, that KPIs. Automated performance monitoring dashboards for real-time performance metrics like energy grid, manufacturing plant. Is everything going fine at the manufacturing? You can have a dashboard that shows everything. Ongoing user feedback for integration into AI model. So it's an ongoing feedback. Collect new relevant data for retraining. Remember, no data drift. So it's not like, oh, my model is done. You constantly have to update the model. Okay, regularly revisit KPIs, also the key performance indicators, to align with evolving business needs, and monitor model drift, performance degradation over time. We talked about in the continuous assessment process, we talked about quantitative assessments to improve efficiency, like accuracy, precision, recall, return on investment, and qualitative, like expert reviews. The best way to do the qualitative assessment for anything is to bring external evaluator. Okay, so external people would ask questions, and then you can actually get an assessment of the quality of that algorithm and its output. Stakeholder feedback on AI performance. So anytime the one of the criteria is expert reviews, and then the second one is who is impacted by this AI algorithms. Those are the stakeholders. Like if we design something for teaching and learning, it would be the students who are impacted. So students have to be asked, hey, how is the system working? Let's say we have a new system for admitting students. Then they have to be asked, hey, do you think this is clear, this is fair, and then more things can come out, right? Okay. Culture of continuous improvement. It is basically a culture. It has to be part of our DNA, as they say. Okay. So uh, it is a culture of continuous improvement. So continuously we are trying to improve ourselves in different ways, and that is something that has to be integrated even in the AI model or system. Iterations on AI models are human oversight. So use cases, for the use cases, AI for the business sector, we talked about data analytics and business intelligence, the strategic decision making, which products to develop and their desirable features, timing the product launch, etc. Cyber and timing product launch is important because, as you know, the first to market, there is something like first to market. First to market is who brings the product out first, and usually that is the company that captures majority of the market. Okay, so the first to market is actually a very important timing the product launch. So it's not just timing, but it's also bringing it first. So maybe you want to bring a smaller version of it first rather than wait for the whole new product. Cybersecurity detect vulnerabilities and take remedial measures to minimize exposure to sensitive data, fraud detection, monitor transactions and user behavior to detect anomalies and identify potential threat, supply chain management, predictive analytics, forecast demand, allowing optimization of stock, streamlining workflow, and finally, marketing. AI analyzes social media and customer reviews. And so that is where a lot of, even in India, there's a lot of online product purchase, right? So then how do you get the customer reviews? What shows up in on the, you know, in the portal, which products actually show up and why. That is also, somebody was telling me that on Amazon, it happens that those that are made in India are shown towards the end, and those that are made outside India are shown first when you're looking at products. Let's say you're looking at cleaning supplies or something like that. Made in India shown. So, maybe you want to look at that. Maybe you want to then scroll down and maybe put that as a filter when you search for the product. How to implement AI in business? Where do we begin to implement AI? Start with practical projects and use cases that provide a quick return on investment. So don't wait for a large, big, huge project. Start something small and try to see how you can implement it. Okay. And sentiment analysis of customer feedback, that's one example to gauge public opinion about a product, identify areas for improvement, understand customer needs, and reform marketing strategies. That's where sentiment analysis of customers' feedback is used. Generative AI for content creation to produce marketing materials. And predictive maintenance by using sensors or IoT devices on factory equipment. AI can analyze real time data on temperature, speed, vibration. Okay. Okay. Coming back to where we left off, how to implement AI in business. And I think we had finished this slide. We were almost done. So, outline of lecture 14, purpose of AI 14 was about AI legislation. So, what is the purpose? Why do we need the AI legislation? What are the general themes around which the legislation is made? Then we talked about Europe being very stringent with AI applications, right? One of the most stringent applications of AI. US is more relaxed, I would say, where AI is concerned. It's okay, for privacy or stuff like that. It's much more relaxed. Legislation in India, India believes that let it evolve. When risk happens, then new measures can be taken, new laws can be made. But until then, we are going to promote innovation. Okay, so that's the take of India. And AI legislation going forward, of course, is continuously going to change because, as things evolve. AI becomes the most important thing. We saw that little video in which character AI is being sued because it uh, almost, you know, uh, convinced a 14-year-old to commit suicide, right? I mean, it supported that and it said how to do it and what to do about it, so on and so forth. So, AI has become a money making proposition, basically, engagement. How long can I keep this person on my portal is the whole idea. And so I would do anything for it, meaning AI would do anything for it. So businesses need to be held accountable for their AI system outcomes. And here's a global regulatory tracker from US. And society must become more aware of the impacts of AI systems. That's the whole idea. And who better to end our lecture today than the Prime Minister of India? Motivational quote from him: hard work never brings fatigue, it brings satisfaction. PM Narendra Modi, of course. Okay. And with that, I'm going to end, but then we are not done. You are going to tell me or tell everybody else what, and each one would be something different. So really short, okay? Begin. Let's begin from the end. The last person. Yeah. And you can stand and I think we need a microphone so everybody can hear. नहीं सिर्फ 30 सेकंड नहीं नहीं चाहिए. हाँ तो अभी करना है, बिफोर लंच करना है, अच्छा तो फिर प्रेजेंटेशन पहले. ओके, डॉक्टर मकवाना थिंक्स दैट फीडबैक इज नॉट नीडेड, दैट वी
We want to take the feedback, your feedback. I want to call you and then you have to give feedback after the presentation. So we will do the presentation first.
Okay, sounds good. So I should my laptop.
Yeah.
पीटी आपसे એમના કોલર માઈક જ આપી
Okay, folks, get ready for your presentations then.
કોઈ આમ જ આપી
હા એમ હા એ બેસ છે પકડવાની જઈએ
ના તો કદાચ બંને માઇક છે ને હમી થાય તો
હા
કદાચ
એવી છે મેગ્નેટ ના લીધે આપજો